Let me tell you about a woman who changed the face of American fashion while the world wasn't even looking. Her name was Eunice Walker Johnson, and she did something nobody thought possible in 1958. She created a space where black beauty could shine on the runway when the rest of the fashion world had its doors locked tight. Born in 1916 in Selma, Alabama, Eunice Walker Johnson's mother was a school principal, her father a physician. Education was everything in the Walker household. Eunice earned her degree from Talladega College in 1938, then went on to get her master's in social work from Loyola University in Chicago. That's where she met John Johnson at a dance, and they married in 1941 after she graduated. Now, John had already started Johnson Publishing Company and was making waves with Ebony magazine, but Eunice had her own fire burning. She understood something that a lot of folks didn't get back then, that Black Americans needed to see themselves reflected in beauty and aspirational ways, not just the struggle stories, but the elegance, the sophistication, the pure joy of being fabulous. In 1958, a friend asked Eunice to help with a fashion show for a hospital in New Orleans. What started as a one-time favor turned into something much bigger. Eunice saw the reaction of the audience. Black women seeing black models wearing gorgeous clothes, their faces lighting up with recognition and possibility. She knew she was onto something powerful. That single event sparked what would become the Ebony Fashion Fair, a traveling fashion extravaganza sponsored by Johnson Publishing Company that would tour the country for 51 years, raising over $55 million for charity and changing the fashion industry forever. Here's what made Eunice Johnson special. She didn't just want to create a fashion show. She wanted the best of the best, which meant going toe-to-toe with the most exclusive European couture houses. Picture this: a black woman in the 1950s walking into the most prestigious fashion house in Paris, demanding to purchase their most expensive pieces. The designers were scared. They worried that selling to black customers would turn off their wealthy white clientele. She had to persuade and threaten European designers to sell high fashion to a black woman, NPR noted, quoting her husband John Johnson's memoirs. Johnson ultimately collected 8,000 outfits, an incredible collection of fashion by black designers and couturiers like Yves Saint Laurent, Christian Dior, and Givenchy. But when they tried to shut her out, she went through retail channels and bought what she wanted anyway. Then she did something brilliant. She started keeping clips of every press mention the designer got from her shows. She'd walk into their offices, spread out the publicity, and show them the exposure they were missing. Look, she'd say, quote, I spent $1 million to $1.5 million a year. You can work with me or watch me spend it somewhere else, end quote. She'd literally fold up her check and head for the door if they didn't meet her price. They almost never let her leave empty-handed. Valentino, Emilio Pucci were among the first to come around, impressed by her business acumen and the platform she was creating. The Ebony Fashion Fair wasn't just about pretty clothes. It was about dignity, aspiration, and proving that Black Americans belonged in every beautiful space. During the height of Jim Crow, when Black folks couldn't use the same restrooms or eat in the same restaurants, Eunice created a traveling showcase of elegance that said, quote, we are here, we are beautiful, and we matter, end quote. The logistics were brutal, especially in the South. The tour bus would pull up to gas stations where signs read, quote, no blacks in ladies' rooms, end quote. Hotels wouldn't accommodate the models, so Eunice had to arrange for local families to house them. When restaurants wouldn't serve them through the front door, she'd send a light-skinned model to place food orders for everyone. Many meals were eaten on that bus, but they never compromised their dignity. By 1991, the Ebony Fashion Fair was making 190 stops across the United States, the Caribbean, Canada, and Europe. From the New York Hilton to church community rooms, school auditoriums, club rooms, and college campuses. In small towns, every venue became a celebration. Mothers and daughters made it their annual tradition, getting dressed to the nines to attend what became the social event of the year in Black communities. Eunice understood her audience like nobody else. When they called out for fuller-figured models, she commissioned pieces in larger sizes for the most prestigious design house. When they wanted more drama, she brought clothes with fringe and feathers and movement that would dance under the lights. She employed music directors and kept a tradition of live commentary long after the mainstream fashion world had abandoned it. The shows became call and response extravaganzas where the audience would holler their approval and the models would put on even more of a show. Pat Cleveland, one of the first fashion fair models to break through and work for white American and Parisian houses in the late 1960s, remembered how the audience energy pushed the models to really perform. Eunice knew the power of this interaction. She dressed her darkest skinned models in the brightest yellow dress, making bold statements about Black beauty when the rest of the world was still trying to make Black women invisible. The impact went far beyond the runway. Eunice featured Black designers like Lenora Levon, Rufus Blakely, Linda Stokes, Fabrice, Stephen Burrows, Willie Smith, and Jennifer Jordan, which no one else would showcase their work, giving them a platform that didn't exist anywhere else in the fashion industry. She helped launch the career of models like Pat Cleveland, Naomi Campbell, and Barbara Smith, who went on to break barriers in the fashion world. Even Richard Roundtree, who became famous in the Shaft films, got his first major exposure modeling in the Ebony Fashion Fair in 1967. When designers like Pucci and Valentino started looking for Black runway models, they came to Eunice. She had become the bridge between the elite fashion world and Black talent, proving that excellence had no color barrier when given the chance to shine. This representation mattered deeply during a time where racism was rampant and Black Americans rarely saw themselves portrayed positively in mainstream media. The fashion fair provided a space where Black women could see themselves as glamorous, sophisticated, and worthy of the finest things in life. It wasn't just about the clothes, it was about positivity, about saying that Black people deserve beauty and luxury just as much as anyone else. The show challenged fashion industry's narrow beauty standards and proved there was a hungry market for this kind of representation. As her daughter Linda Johnson Rice would later explain, Eunice believed fashion, quote, could be used for Black empowerment. She just wanted to prove there was nothing you couldn't do. There was no barrier to Black beauty, end quote. The Ebony Fashion Fair ran until 2009, touching millions of lives and fundamentally changing how America saw Black beauty and fashion. Eunice Johnson left a huge footprint on American fashion history. Eunice Johnson was never about getting recognition from the establishment. She was about creating her own stage where Black beauty could shine. She understood that fashion could be a form of resistance, a declaration of worth, and a celebration of possibilities all at once. Her legacy lives on every time a Black model walks a runway, every time a Black designer gets featured in a major show, and every time someone sees fashion as more than just clothes, but as a statement of who we are and who we can be. That's the Eunice Johnson story, a woman who saw barriers and decided to build bridges instead, one beautiful outfit at a time.